Hi guys, it's Natalie Zangon with my audio of the day. So I wanted to tell you today, my husband and I were taking a walk and we saw this tree that was like absolutely huge. Like the roots of it, it was a ginormous tree and it had so many branches and it went up and it had so many leaves and everything. And my husband said, "Look at this tree." And I said, "Oh my goodness, this tree is stunning." And all I kept thinking to myself is, look at the roots of this tree. Look at how strong this tree is planted to the ground. Like my husband was saying, look how this tree has connected to the earth. And I was thinking to myself, look how many roots it has in the ground. And I was thinking to myself, like in the book of Tehillim, especially the first part, it talks about being a tree right next to the Nile, like getting all the nutrition that you need. Um, and what I was thinking is that that is the symbolism of the emotional connection when you have a strong connection growing up as a child and what it does for you in adult life. So many people, when they have relationship issues as adults, whether it's with their spouse or their children or their coworker, they are so quick to get defensive and try to solve the issue with the person they're in a relationship with now. They're trying to resolve it, work it through, deal with it, not realizing that many times the issue they're struggling with is a built up of also what they did or did not have during childhood. And I was thinking to myself, when an infant is born, unlike all the mammals in the world, there's so many things that they need to be exposed to know how to do. Whether it's the sense of smell, they need to be exposed to sensations and smells so their sense of smells gets activated. Walking, they need to learn how to walk. Talking, they need to get exposed to the communication. Sleeping, they need to learn how to be soothed to go to sleep. Eating right, whether it's like when they get older, when but they get body trained, being able to hold their bowel movement and go when they can, hold and go as they become two and above. Learning to swim, learning to socialize, even being able to see. A baby can be born with the ability of sight, but if they are left in a dark black cave, they will not be able to see because the occipital lobe, where is the ability to see, if it's not exposed, doesn't have exposure to light, it will not get activated, right? So the same goes with our emotional intelligence. Our frontal lobe, our corpus callosum that connects the two hemisphere, our hypothalamus, things that has to do with relating in an emotional setting also has to have exposure so when you become an adult, you know how to utilize it. So just I was just speaking to a friend, just because a woman gets pregnant on a pregnancy of an infant and gives birth to that infant does not necessarily instantly make them a mother. This is why surrogacy is a business now. You could hire a woman, get the sperm and the egg, get the embryo of another couple, put it inside of this woman. This woman will carry the pregnancy for 9 months, will give you the baby after, and she'll go back to work and live her life because she was hired to be a surrogate. So, motherly instinct is not something that turns on just because you were pregnant. There's an emotional component that has to go into it. Also, when women go into postpartum depression and they kind of have like a chemical imbalance after birth, they're not emotionally as present as they need to be with the child. Further, when you have a father or a mother that have come from toxic or unhealthy or traumatic relationships during their childhood themselves, they get together and have a child. Now you have two unhealthy emotionally being people, even though they mean well, their capacity of healthy emotional connection is not really there. So they need to educate themselves of how to do that. In order for you to be able to have a good adult life, a strong rooted foundation where you have within yourself what it means to have self-worth, self-value, self-importance. Some might kids call these kids strong-willed or opinionated because when you raise a strong child, they'll have opinions, ideas, thoughts of their own, right? So during their childhood, it might be very challenging to deal with that. but you need to expose them to that for them to assert themselves. A good parent, a good healthy attachment figure is not someone that smothers their child and holds them in. They're a safe base where the child comes, checks in, and goes. Comes, checks in, and goes to explore the world. So to be able to have that, you need to have the main caregiver be someone that provides a healthy attachment to the child, not guilt, not out of guilt, not out of loneliness, but attaching for the sense of well being of the child, relating to the child, connecting to the child, being attuned with the child, having compassion, having consideration, to be able to create empathy, trust, love, affection. And these things is what's going to lead to healthy intimacy into adult life. And you could be the best of the mothers and offer all of that, and the child can come and say, I hate you for doing this. I am mad at you. I'm feeling frustrated with you. And these are part of them being allowed to have these feelings. And as mothers, as parents, we could feel annoyed, frustrated, upset, but they're just feeling their feelings out and figuring it out. But if we want to build them as that strong tree with strong roots within themselves and connecting to their inner self, that's what it takes to be able to build that strong tree. We got to be a strong land for it because it's hard, it's difficult. And next time you feel yourself having sensations and frustrations towards people in your life, whether it's your spouse or your children, take a moment and do that emotional elevator check-in instead of the flashlight. These are demos I use. The emotional elevator tells yourself, hold on a second, let me check in. Was this something that triggered me from my past? Instead of just immediately blaming the other, take a moment and look within yourself and see, is this bringing up something from your childhood? And how can you work through this instead of attacking the other person? How can you build stronger roots not to get shaken again by this? Thank you for watching. This is Natalie Zangon. NatalieZangon at gmail.com.